Hello, and welcome to the latest Jeopardy Live panel. This is number 51, the last one of the season. So once again, I'm Andy Saunders doing two cameras tonight because of lovely technical issues. So that happens sometimes. We've got quite a panel for us tonight. First up, we have the founder of the JeopardyFan.com. Welcome once again to Jeanie Kenkel. Glad you're able to join us, Jeanie.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We also have from J-Archive, wearing his J-Archive shirt that he got recently.
Oh, cool.
David Kendall, also J-Board moderator. And finally, Jeopardy champion, one day total $200, Colby Potter.
Really wish you were missing some zeros.
Colby does have to leave us pretty quickly tonight, so in order to ask him some questions, we're going to get straight into last week's games. I would say the biggest news of the week was your Wednesday game, for sure, Colby, when Jonathan bet everything and gifted you a championship, but hey, a win's a win. How did it feel? Did he have anything to say after that game?
Not much. You know, I'm sure it probably bruised him somewhat, as it would anybody. But generally, the whole day's worth of taping, whoever was ousted, it was a new champion every game essentially. So whoever was ousted that previous game typically didn't stick around for very long after. I know. My last game was the second to last, and so I, departed shortly thereafter. So, yeah, but no, it was certainly an interesting conclusion to that game, and happy it turned out the way it did, as funnily enough as it did. But again, a win's a win, and a championship, no matter how short-lived or how paltry the payout, is a championship. So, yeah. Happy it turned out that way.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually managed to get some questions from Vaughn Winchell before we started.
Oh, cool.
Also, if you have questions for anyone or comments for the panel, you can always send us tweets on Twitter, of course, using hashtag JeopardyLivePanel. So do keep that in mind. But some questions from Vaughn from behind the scenes. Now, did Alex kind of keep on getting worse and worse throughout the day, Colby?
He was really bad consistently throughout, and I think as the day wore on and it became evident that he wasn't getting any better, I think it just became all the more obvious. His staff did a fantastic job rushing him up, hot tea and lozenges, but it just wasn't really achieving the intended impact. And at one point, I think this was after the second game of the day even, they came close to calling the whole day's worth of taping. His staff said that they had never seen him as ill as he was before, and so what the backup plan, the contingency was going to be would be that they would kind of scrap the taping. We had already filmed 2 games, so they'd keep those completed, but fly the rest of us out, a couple months later once he was healthier. But
wow.
He persevered and had some help from the audio guys after the fact, but and it's Alex, so he's a consummate professional, and so even during the breaks, he was still taking questions from the audience, which he likes to do. So,
was it Alex's decision to persevere like that?
As that's my understanding, yeah, absolutely. I think, and being the last day of filming, I think everyone was eager to, they segue immediately into Sports Jeopardy, so it's not quite a summer break, but certain folks on the staff who weren't as involved with Summer Jeopardy were probably pretty eager to start their summer breaks, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did they mention at all anybody replacing him? Like, was that even thought of?
To my knowledge, it was not. Yeah, it almost seems like sacrilege in the Jeopardy world, but I'm sure that was probably considered, but as far as I know, it was never seriously entertained.
Huh.
I know I was really, really impressed by the fact that Alex wanted to continue, even though he was very sick from what we could tell from his unretouched audio. I was very impressed by the fact that he wanted to soldier on, and that showed a real real level of commitment to his job, and you contestants and us viewers that really showed what a class act he is. So, I mean, I definitely applaud Alex for wanting to soldier on, and then I assume that as soon as Friday wrapped, he just stopped talking for weeks so that he could be good enough to re-record whenever he re-recorded.
Right. Yeah, and like with any single game, there were a few re-records that they did, but no more than what I expect is the usual. So he was still on his game.
Now, in terms of gameplay as it was it kind of freaky to have the clues read in some kind of almost like a frog voice?
So he actually read them with clarity still, but he was I think conscious of how he was coming across. He did some practice runs before each break from commercial, and then during commercial breaks he was receiving those continuous injections of tea and Halls, and so it never really impacted gameplay in my opinion. A couple times they had to re-record because he would kind of slip on a word here and there, but very seldom. And again, not to the point where I think it confused the contestants or anything like that. But you felt for the guy during gameplay. You heard him, and he was definitely hurting. So, but beyond that, I think it was business as usual.
Now, was the center stage talk at the end of the games, was that any different to you, or?
No, he was still very chatty. Funny story though, given my huge game winnings, he walked up, and you can actually kind of tell if you're watching the credits. You barely see it, but he walked up, and one of the first things he said to me, he actually broke out his wallet, and he said, "I should just pay you in cash." And given how long the
Benjamins, here you go.
And no joke, there were definitely Benjamins in there. He had enough to pay out, I think, threefold what I had won. But we still chatted, and I'm a huge ice hockey fan, and so I was dying to ask him about his favorite teams growing up, and so we chatted about that a little bit, and then he and Jonathan hit it off really well as well. So he didn't miss a beat, really.
Wow.
I think that actually speaks, as David said, to how much of a professional that Alex is, just because of how he was able to pretty much do his job, even though he had a terrible cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only change from the norm, significant change from the norm, was that I think typically they take lunch after the third game of the day, the third taping, and in my case, after the second game, they took the lunch break then to kind of give them some time to recuperate.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but beyond that, we actually encountered a lot more of the regular Sony Studio staff, I think, because of that. But so lunch took a little bit longer, but they elongated the day for them. And
these were on a Tuesday, right?
It was on a Tuesday, yes.
Yeah, I've heard that they're on Monday, Tuesday. I'm still thinking Tuesday, Wednesday, but I think the celebrity games moved it to Monday, Tuesday.
Oh, right. Yeah, they just wrapped those up.
I still think Tuesday, Wednesday in my mind, though.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. They changed the lunchtime, because when I was watching that week, I was wondering what's it going to be like after their lunch. Like what I thought had happened didn't happen, so I thought he might have sounded better after his lunch break, but now that was a different day after all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have a question that I think I can interject here. This one courtesy, of course, Ben Ingram.
Oh.
Hold on. Did Trebek have real money, or was it chuck bucks?
I don't think he gave me a close look, but as far as I could tell, it was U.S. dollars. It wasn't loonies or anything like that.
Canadian money, none of that.
Right. It looked pretty real enough that I would willingly take it had he actually offered. But
well, I mean, Alex Trebek probably gets paid more than the average Jeopardy contestant wins.
Yeah, especially when you're me. Well, and it's kind of a little bit of a buzzkill when not soon after my winning game, the news breaks that he just bought his son a Harlem penthouse in New York City. I don't even want to mention the number because I was like, could have been me, but not really.
Now, were you happy to finish second and not third in your
Yes.
defense to get
Yeah.
the extra, at least more money than your competitors won the previous day?
Yeah, because as much as I'd like to say getting the championship is more important than getting the money. It's still smart something awful when you can win and win a game of Jeopardy and still end up with less than had you lost in total. So I was definitely shooting for at least second.
There's only 4 people that have done that?
Yeah, as far as I know, I know there's been a couple with the $1.
One had $1. I think somebody else. No, the other person that had $200 was somebody who won 7 games or something.
Dan Pawson.
Who? Dan Pawson. That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't think anybody else other than that person who won $1 might have even had the opportunity. And back then they didn't even have 1,000 and 2,000 for second and third. So.
Right. I'm just happy.
There, Colby.
I'm just happy I didn't have to leave with a vacuum cleaner that second game.
Now, in terms of your final Jeopardy on Wednesday with the women authors and Colleen McCullough, had you heard of her?
Honestly, I had not at all. I no, I just and I was an English major in my undergrad, so going into that category, I was very confident, and so when the question came up, I had that, expletive deleted reaction in my head because I had no idea. And then afterwards, my mom, who of course knew the name, but she only knew it from the TV miniseries, which came out I think before I was born. So she didn't know that it had been a book. And then I have a couple Australian friends who one had heard of McCullough, another only because she'd recently passed, but her whole family hadn't even heard of it. So I took some solace in that, not much, but a little bit of solace in that. But no, I had not heard of it before.
It definitely felt like you either knew it or you didn't in terms of a Final Jeopardy, and it definitely seemed like the three of you didn't know it.
Right. I spoke with Jonathan a little bit afterwards, and he had known the Thornbirds, but he couldn't recall the name at all.
Oh, that's too bad. Like, he was close,
Right. And then, he was certainly frustrated. And then, I'd recalled coming across McCullough's name as a sort of, world news obituary, but again, not recognizing her name or her books. It just was in one ear and out the other until I realized that not knowing it cost me $15,000. But
so is that why you wagered so large? Is because you said you're an English major and you like the category?
It was that, and the way Jonathan had wagered the game before going all in, I knew he was going to bet big. I just assumed he was going to bet big. I didn't know if he was going to bet all of it, in which case it was kind of a moot point anyway, had he gotten it right. But I understood that he was a pretty aggressive wagerer. And the other thing too is I kind of like to think that I had a lot of pent up betting ambition, given that I didn't get a single daily double. I was ready to. I went in there with like the intent to wager big had I gotten a daily double, and so not having gotten one, I was ready to bet big somewhere, and
I could definitely
was on that question.
Temptation, yeah. Do you know why Jennifer bet the way she did? Like, have you ever talked to her about her bet?
I have not. No. It was an interesting wager. There was definitely some interesting wagers, not only in that game, but I got razzed by a few friends for my second game wagering so that I left $3. Had I not gotten the Final Jeopardy right, I would have been left with $3. But at that point, I was just kind of I wasn't going to win, so
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking these things. But no, I did not really speak with the other two contestants about why they bet the way that they did.
All we know is that I can now congratulate Keith Williams for, 6 days sober?
I assume you weren't familiar with Keith's website before you went on.
I was not, no.
Oh.
But now I am, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. David?
Okay. While I've got some questions here on the hashtag, this one actually is for David, but it's from Jennifer Morrow. Where the heck did you get a J Archive T-shirt? 2, do these come in women's sizes?
It's a perk of being an archivist, I guess. I wanted to advertise the J Archive on the panel, but yeah, perk of being an archivist, Jennifer. We'd love to have you. You have to contact Robert for that.
Now, back to asking Colby some questions. Of all of the questions you got right, which one were you most proud of? And of all the questions you got wrong, which one do you want back?
There's a few. There's a single example going both ways of a question that I got right that I had no business getting right, and then one getting wrong that I had no business getting wrong. So the one that I got right that I was kind of like, where did I pull that from, was the Dolores one. I don't remember the exact question, but it was a Spanish. It was a question about a Mexican holiday, and my Spanish is incredibly rusty. So the clue kind of gave it in with mentioning it meant sorrow or pain, which I knew was dolor or Dolores in the plural. And so that came out from like the nether regions of my brain somewhere where, I still retained high school Spanish, which, go figure, I had no idea I retained any of that. And then a couple that I would love to get back was a triple stumper was phrenology in the second game. I knew it just had fallen out of my brain somewhere. And I think the other two knew it as well, but it ended up becoming a triple stumper. The one that I did answer wrong incorrectly was the one about Indian independence, and I said 1945, and then someone guessed 1946, and it was 1947. I knew that one. I heard post-war, and my mind went to 1945, and before I knew it, I'd already rung in, so I went with that.
That's fair. Now, I believe Jeanie had a question, and I apparently rudely cut her off. So.
Oh, I didn't think it was really. I just thought nobody could hear me. No, I'm sorry. Just to go back to the Thornbirds thing, I was asking David if he knew that final.
I'd like to know if Andy knew too, but no, that really wasn't something in my mind when it came up. I said, okay, Thornbirds calling McCall. Okay, that kind of rings the bell, but I still don't think I would have got it even if it was more in my mind. So, what about you, Andy?
That was the first Final Jeopardy in 2 months. I couldn't even come up with a.
Whoa! Okay.
So commence bragging, Jeanie. There you go.
Okay.
Bragging, right?
Yeah.
Makes me
well,
feel
I watched
better.
that. Yeah. My mom was a fan of the miniseries, so I watched that when I was little, and then I tried reading the book. Like, even just a couple months ago, I was starting to read the book, but it was way trashier than I remembered it, so I just threw it away. I didn't even give it away. Like, usually I give a book away, but I threw it away. It was terrible. But anyway, I got that one right.
Okay, so, well, we've touched on the wagering. We've definitely touched on Vaughn's questions for Colby. Do you have any questions for any of us? Or does David or Jeanie have any questions for Colby, because he does have to go?
Mm-hmm. I was wondering if when you saw this week's episodes, was the audio quite very much different from what you remember? Like when Alex interviewed the players, I got the impression that the interview audio was unretouched, that was the real Alex voice. But listening to the game later, did it just seem so alien to you?
It kind of did, but to be honest, I remember his voice being a lot worse. So I'm not saying that they retouched the unretouched sections, but but live you could tell that off stage he was kind of fighting it. He was coughing a lot in between the games and didn't really cough at all during game time. So that part it just came across as being a lot. It seemed worse in the live studio than it did on television, which again, like I think just speaks to Alex's ability, his stage presence, and his professionalism. But and then like everyone, the redubbing was kind of arresting at first, and there were some questions or some little responses and quips that he had at the time that were kind of redone. With the redubbing, but again, he didn't sound as bad as he seemed to be at the time.
I mentioned on the J-board that the redubbing kind of sounds a little like his voice on the Jeopardy Wii game, which I play from time to time, and my family refuses to play with me anymore. It had that kind of quality to it.
Now, one question I actually had. When Alex kind of did a lot of asides, now was he doing that during taping as well, and he just redubbed that, or was he adding those in?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. He was doing a lot of it during taping, and I just assumed he did better with his voice going at a more continuous pace because it was really in between games and not during.
I think Colby's having some video issues there.
Bummer.
It was a weird thing. As long as he kept the vocal box going, he was more or less all right. But those asides he did during the taping as well.
Wow.
So every word we heard post redubbing was every word that he spoke pre-redubbing, pretty much.
For the most part, I don't seem to remember as many digs at me during the live taping, but that's okay. He had the time to come up with some witty rejoinders on top of the ones that he already had.
Well, I will just check to see once again if anyone is listening and has any questions or comments. They can leave them on Twitter using hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel. And so, just in case, do we have any more questions for Colby?
Don't think so.
Okay, well, Colby, I'd like to thank you for coming on. I know a lot of us appreciate having a behind-the-scenes look, especially this past week with Alex's cold. So it's much appreciated by many Jeopardy fans to hear that information. So thank you very much, and congratulations on your victory.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and thank you for the questions.
No problem.
Yeah, sure.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.
Okay, so moving on, so unfortunately Colby did have to leave. We might get a couple other guests later on in the broadcast, though. We'll see how that works out, but at the moment, I think the next best thing is to talk about, if you were listening at the end of last week's broadcast, you'll remember Jennifer Morrow mentioning the Tournament of Panelists. Great idea from her.
Yeah.
I liked it. Jeanie liked it. So let's see. I have a graphic here which has
you do?
on the tournament. So basically 3 rounds: quarterfinals, semifinals, and finalists. In the quarterfinals, every panelist from the past season will be invited. Fans will vote for their favorites. From the votes, 18 semifinalists will be selected. Those semifinalists will make it onto 3 panels with Jeanie and myself. I will give out some points for good debate points on the panel. I think Jeanie will have that opportunity to give out some points as well. And we'll count for 50% of the score. Post-audience voting will count for the other 50% of the score from the semifinals. The top 2 panelists and 2 wildcards by your debate scores will make the final. And then the 6 final panelists, sorry, the 8 final panelists, I should say. It says 6, but 2 and 2 make 8. We'll go on to a final panel, a big one with Jeanie and I. That makes 10. Scoring as per the semifinals, 50% debate, 50% audience vote, and of course, the winner wins the Jeopardy Live panel tournament of panelists. So
I had no idea it was going to be like this. I thought I had pictured in my head a bracket, you know, like I thought we were going to have to come up with a bracket, kind of like a tennis draw, you know what I mean? And then I thought everybody was participating. Like, I didn't know it was only people that wanted to. Like, I thought the bracket was made up of every single person we've ever had on the...
Well,
I'm just glad that
the idea, sorry.
To be trivia against other panelists like, say, Ben Ingram and Julia Collins. So as long as I don't have to do trivia against them, I'm good.
Sorry, Jeanie. I thought the idea was that we'd get their permission before they participated.
Oh, I think, yeah, that's probably okay.
So
I guess people can just let us know if there is somebody they definitely want to be in the tournament, though, you know.
Well, I think I have no problem contacting everybody who's been on the panel this past season.
Okay, cool.
So,
cool.
So
Awesome.
what kind of
get permission, I
what
think.
kind of debating are we doing here?
Well, I'll come up with some questions like, you know, question 1, what's your favorite color? Not quite, but,
Oh my
you know, the Jeopardy-related questions.
Question 1, what's Alex Trebek's favorite color?
And if you have any ideas.
Yeah, you should let us know if you have ideas.
If you have ideas for questions, please use hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel.
Resolved. All Jeopardy bets should be $4,000. Discuss.
Oh, no.
We have some comments, actually, on the hashtag already. One from Jennifer Morrow. Yaz, with lots of A's, I think almost to get 240. And Kea Chua, there's scoring. So looks like there's some excitement already on the hashtag.
Cool.
For the tournament of panelists, this will be a fun summer. I'll be in touch over the next, I would say, week or so, trying to get a hold of everyone who's been on the panel. And I think, Jeanie, I will need a little bit of your help with that, but I'm sure that will be just fine.
So this is going to take place during the summer?
Yes, this will take place during the summer. There'll be a couple of weeks before we go back on air. As you can see, hopefully I'll have some of my technical issues worked out. I've got 2 screens tonight, one for a camera and one for production.
So are you just putting a poll on, like, in a blog post to start with?
Yes.
When you say fans will vote for their favorite panelists?
Yes.
Can I vote for myself?
Yes.
Oh, you mean you're going to participate, David? Okay, great.
Yes.
Well, I have been a panelist.
I know. It was a no-brainer that you'd be in there.
No brainer. Yeah, that's me in Jeopardy, all right.
Okay, so now that I have talked about the tournament of panelists, moving on to our next topic, the year in review. Plenty of various things. First up, Alex's mustache came back. Do we wish we'd had more of it?
No. I'm glad it's gone.
I noticed that the Jeopardy social media sites, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, seem to really make hay over it. And I guess in the 21st century, if you want to get people to talk about you, you have to do something big on social media. So I think the mustache thing was more to drum up social media visibility than anything else. And Jeopardy seems to do that a lot. Like when Arthur Chu was on, he was great for social media too. They say, "Oh, come and watch Arthur Chu. Everybody's talking about him. See what the big deal is." So I think that's the only reason that that Alex's mustache got as much press as it did. I don't think it was even Alex's idea to grow his mustache.
Jeanie?
Oh, just that I didn't want the mustache. I'm glad it's gone.
Okay. Now moving on, of course, Sports Jeopardy had its debut this past season. We had a few panelists early on in our run from Sports Jeopardy. What did we all think of it? Do we like it's coming back for a second season?
It wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be, so I haven't watched it in forever, which is probably why I haven't invited anybody in forever either.
Are you a sports person, Jeanie?
Well, those questions were too hard for me. I mean, if it was a little easier, then I would have liked it more.
Again, I think it's to make Jeopardy more accessible to the sports type. I mean, since time immemorial, there have been the sports jocks and the nerds. The nerds watch Jeopardy, and the sports jocks watch, say, the Super Bowl or whatever. So, I mean, sure that there are people who like trivia and like sports, and I guess that's to make those kind of people available as contestants, and those kind of people who just care about sports to be more interested in the game. So you're not really going to get the sports nerds from regular Jeopardy to watch, but you are going to get the sports nerds to watch Sports Jeopardy.
Yeah. Well, maybe when they have their championship, I think it's next month, we can invite those people back that are in the final. What?
I haven't been watching Sports Jeopardy that much, but I did tell myself I would like to watch the championships.
Yeah, I think I will too.
Before I move on to the next topic, I do want to say that there are a couple more comments here. First up from Jennifer, of course, what if lots of people are interested? Should try to get everyone on who wants to be on. I think that was, from my perspective, it's very difficult to bracket in a possibly indeterminate number of people. That's why I kind of, and trying to schedule about trying to schedule everyone is kind of a little bit difficult, so I figure it's easier if we only have to try to schedule in 18 people.
Oh yeah, I didn't think we were going to have everybody back on a panel. I thought, like we could link people's names to the panel that they were on in case people didn't remember them, and then they could watch that panel and see how they did. You know what I mean?
Good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I hope you.
That's.
I hope you will do that on the poll, Andy, because that way people can. Okay.
And I'm guessing that because not every single panelist is going to be in that, right?
Well, I would say if I can think that there may be a couple of people who are like, I don't know if I want to be involved with that. So.
But I would think also that those who have been on the panel more would be more likely to be on, just like the regular Tournament of Champions. Those who have won more games are more likely to be on than those who have only won 3 or 4 games.
I know, but there are definitely some bugs-ish to be worked out. But I think we'll be able to figure this out in the next 24 hours. But
and considering there's no real prize at stake, it doesn't really matter that much.
I was thinking that there may be, maybe we could bet on, put some props up on JBoard too. Like, how many cigars are offered?
Oh my gosh.
But hey, I would be happy if the number was 0.
Yep.
Okay. So, oh yes, we also have people stumping for votes already.
Oh boy.
And do you see my question about the points, Andy?
That could still be determined by, they could be assigned by me, they could be assigned by you, we could have our opinions swayed by audience members too.
Okay.
So it's,
Or they could be swayed by panelists. I can get you a gift certificate to the LCBO.
The what?
the
Liquor-
LCBO, the liquor
The
control,
liquor place near Andy.
basically where we get our alcohol.
Yeah.
Oh, OCBO?
LCBO.
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 Liquor Control Board of Ontario, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Apparently,
Okay.
beer is the way to my heart and for points. But as I said, there was some stumping. Kea was Kansas City. Please vote me for the tournament of panelists. I love Kansas City.
What? Okay. Why Kansas City?
Kea, why Kansas City? So I'm sure she'll answer that.
Yeah.
So back to the year in review. Moving on. The Tournament of Champions, of course. Spoiler alert, if you missed it the first time around, it's being rerun this week and next week. But psst, Ben Ingram wins. After his true Final Jeopardy in Game 1 of the finals paid off for him against Arthur Chu and Julia Collins. How much of a surprise was Ben's victory for everyone? I mean, I was cheering for him for sure, but how much of a surprise was it to see Ben win?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I would have thought Julia and Arthur, one of them would have won, but
I guess because they won more games and they were more visible in the Jeopardy as it is.
yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, I thought, Ben was a much stronger player than, his number of wins even indicated. So for, not as much of a surprise to me. I mean, again, I was cheering for him, so I was very happy to see the result. But
yeah, there's a lot of players on Jeopardy that are stronger than their Jeopardy stats admit. The first one that always comes to mind to me is Scott Blish. I fully expected watching his game for him to just tear it up, and that didn't happen. And of course, that could always be due to a lot of different things, whether it was buzzer, just questions, categories, whatever. So the fact that Julia and Arthur won, I think, like combined, 4 times more games than Ben, shouldn't really have affected it the way everybody thought it would have.
that's a fair thought. Going back to the hashtag, Jennifer has said, the totally uneven numbers, I say that's part of the fun. Mass hysteria. And
Yeah.
has also suggested a $31 prize. And Kea has suggested she likes Kansas City because of the Royals, because their fans are really good at voting at things.
Oh.
I'm not
Okay.
going to say anything about Kansas City Royals fans. I am not going to say anything about Kansas City.
Okay, move on then.
I am not going to say anything about Kansas City Royals fans.
I know you just saw a Kansas City Royals game just recently, Andy.
I am not going to say anything about City Royals fans. I am not going to say anything about Kansas City Royals fans.
Just a few days ago, I was watching a minor league game here in Winnipeg against the local Winnipeg team and the Kansas City minor league team. So I just found that interesting that both of us were watching Kansas City baseball games recently. And
I think
Kansas City won in my game, too. So.
Go ahead, Jeanie.
well, I think our Lincoln team plays Winnipeg too, don't they?
Yes, they do. I don't know if I've ever seen them at a Gold Eyes game, but I know that they are in our league. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the Kansas City team was just in Lincoln a couple weeks ago, so I actually saw them too. I hadn't been to a Salt Dogs game in years, but I went to that one, so.
I know Andy doesn't like the fans, but I know that Kansas City has a special place in mine and Andy's heart now, at least for one thing. If not baseball fans, for at least one thing.
Barbecue?
Okay, two things.
Yeah, Kansas City came up in Learned League recently. In one.
I haven't been playing some of the stuff, so.
So, right after the Tournament of Champions, I would say came the biggest news of the season, that ties were being done away with. I thought about, ripping a tie off and just throwing it away, but that's not going to happen with me. But yeah, how do we think it's affected things so far? We haven't had a tiebreaker since.
I know, and I fully expected to see one, maybe two tiebreakers by now. So I think that since day one, when they instituted that, the contestants have been really good to avoid that. And I've been really surprised that we haven't seen any tiebreakers, even in the odd situation that has required it. The bats have been done accordingly, or the get rate has been accordingly, so that we haven't seen it. And I was fully expecting to see at least one tiebreaker. Now, I do like when they do have tiebreakers. I think they had one at the the team tournament last year, and I remember watching that on Daytime Jeopardy just recently, and I kind of enjoyed seeing that. So I was kind of hoping to see a tiebreaker by now, and I'm very surprised that it hasn't been, but it hasn't seemed to affect the game that much.
Yeah, that's true.
Though it might have, maybe it might have scared some people away who were thinking of betting for the tie, and didn't. But yeah, moving on through season 31, we've had 10. I counted 10 five-time champions in 2015.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Pretty much there was the dearth of them after Julia's run finished, and then we have been blessed by some excellent players. Of the 10, who's been your favorite?
I'm trying to remember
I need some kind of a list.
Yeah, I'm going to the archive right now trying to find a
thank
list.
you. Yeah.
My favorite, I'm going to open with Kristen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yes, Kristen. Kristen definitely is up there. And
my apologies going out. Well, you know what, Kristen, and then I would say Carrie Green is a very close second to that.
mm-hmm.
But I would say I've been a fan of a lot of them. By the way, the five-timers: Vaughn Winchell, John Schultz, Kristen Sausville, Carrie Green, Alex Jacob, Greg Soroka, Andrew Herringer, Dan Feitel, Brennan Bushy, and Scott Lord.
Yeah, I was just looking at that list too, and one name I guess kind of jumped out at me as my favorite, even though I do really like Kristen. Her single-player Final Jeopardy is definitely a highlight of the season, and I do like Carrie Green. I really did like Alex Jacob, though. I know that he is a former poker player, and I liked how that affected his game, and I could really see that in him. I kind of enjoy watching poker on TV and playing it from time to time on the computer and doing really poorly, but at least I enjoy doing it. And I liked the way that his poker background affected his game. I kind of see him as kind of the Arthur Chu of the upcoming TLC. I think that his style and everything is quite unique, and I think he's going to be my favorite 5-time champion this year. What about you, Jeanie?
Well, I don't remember that Herringer person. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I don't really remember that.
He, I believe, didn't he split the celebrities?
Yeah, the celebrities was in the middle of his run. I'm just looking there.
Huh. Wish I could get... How do you spell his last name? Maybe I'll look for a picture.
Haringer. Troyan beat him back in May.
Oh. Andrew Herringer. Well, I know of the list, besides him, because I don't remember him, Vaughn I like a lot, and Scott Lord was cool. And I wish he could have come on a panel. I found his email address and emailed him, but I never heard anything. So when it gets closer to the tournament time, I'm going to try again, definitely.
Okay. So moving through our year in review, of course, Celebrity Jeopardy came back. Who is the biggest surprise in terms of celebrities in terms of playing the game? I liked Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Wow, you're stretching my brain, Andy. I got to think about who was on.
I know you asked this question roughly when the celebrities were playing, and I had an answer then, but I can't remember what it is now, so I'll just say whatever I said then.
I don't remember much of it. I mean, I didn't watch everything of it either because the celebrities didn't excite me, but Aaron Rodgers. I liked Penn Jillette, of course.
Yeah, I liked Penn Jillette. I liked seeing Kevin O'Leary get taken down a few pegs. That's always fun to do.
Oh, the shark? Is that the shark guy?
Yeah.
The shark guy, yeah. I liked seeing him getting taken down a few pegs.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Penn Jillette was my favorite, and his performance didn't surprise me that much, especially when I heard that what's his name, Bob Harris was coaching him, and I know Aaron Rodgers did really good too, and his performance didn't surprise me that much either. So Penn and Aaron, I guess, were my two favorites, especially Penn, but neither of their performances surprised me at all. I don't know who would be the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
I remember reading a story. Apparently, he wanted Aaron Rodgers' girlfriend, and she was like, I think I have someone better for you. And she suggested that they go for Aaron.
Oh, okay.
So I think all Jeopardy fans are very happy for that one. We have a question that I'm going to interject here on the hashtag from Kea. What was your favorite Final Jeopardy this year? I have one already because I saw the question and I picked it out. So I will open with the Final Jeopardy from the Tournament of Champions Final, Game 2. The Shakespearean Geography. Of the 5 cities mentioned in Shakespeare play titles, it's the only one not found in Europe.
Oh, okay.
That was my favorite because I knew the answer. That being Tyre from Pericles.
That's always good. I mean, if I can't remember the 10 5 champions, I can't remember 240 finals.
No doubt. That was a really hard question.
I will say, to alter the question a little bit, my favorite questions of the season definitely were the ones about Canada that the American contestants failed spectacularly over. I mean, I was just really enjoying that, and several of my Canadian friends who haven't even watched Jeopardy that much saying, yeah, I saw that, yeah, I like that. It got people talking about Jeopardy in Canada. While those weren't Final Jeopardy questions, those were questions that got people talking here in Canada. Of course, it has to do with Canada and geography, two things that I'm really good at, two things that I like. So those were my favorite questions. They weren't Final Jeopardy questions, but I definitely remember those, and those got my pick of the favorite of questions of the season.
Jeanie, do you have any favorite questions?
Oh, nothing stands out to me. Sorry, it's a boring answer. But what about you?
Oh, my favorite questions. Oh boy, that's a difficult one. By the way, I promised we were going to have a random special guest. We have Sarah McNish.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Glad you're able to join us at the end
Yeah.
here, in the middle, talking about a couple of things, including first up, Jennifer Giles wins the Teachers Tournament. She'll get a spot in the Tournament of Champions for that. There weren't many tournaments this year. And there was also, of course, Kids Week. But the reason why I really wanted to bring Sarah in, of course, just wager 4,000, the big April Fool's joke of this past season. Sarah,
Yes.
I have to say that was quite well done with just wager 4,000.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Well, it was Keith's idea inadvertently. So he had posted something on Twitter earlier in the year about like my new wagering blog, justwager4000.co. And at that point, I was like, April isn't that far away. Like maybe I'll just
taken.
yeah. And then it just like got bigger and bigger. And once we started inviting people, it got to be a whole site. It was just going to be like a page that was going to be sort of maybe just some pictures or quotes or something like that, but people wanted to make videos, and it just got out of hand. So
I hope it stays up for a long time too.
yeah, well, at least a year. I
visit it.
bought the domain name for a year, so.
I think we need to have some people in the Jeopardy community offer to pay for it for future years.
Yeah, I think maybe Keith can kick back some of the money from his liquor cabinet, just to keep some competition. It's important for him to stay sharp, so he needs to keep us active.
Well, if more people wager 4,000, as demonstrated by his site, then more people would be making good wages, which would mean Keith would be drinking less, which means he wouldn't need enough for his liquor cabinet, which means he can give money to you.
Or just anybody who wagers 4,000 should be required to give us $1, and that'll pay for the domain name.
Well, to be honest, Sarah, I just want to say that if I happen to get on the show myself at this point, that if there's a wagering situation and a bet of 4,000 works, I will make it.
Okay.
And that makes two of us, by the way. That's two of us. I find the exact same thing.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I hope you guys make it on.
Crossing my fingers. So,
If there's any contestant coordinators out there, you have our numbers.
So, Sarah, I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite Final Jeopardy this past season?
Oh, goodness.
Nothing like putting you on the spot.
Yeah, it's been a long season. And I don't know. I mean, I played one game this season, and my game was not my favorite Final Jeopardy. So
I would just say I don't think yours was your favorite. I don't think your game was your favorite. Probably your least favorite.
no, I really. Let's see. What was this is spoilers for this week, but whatever the Friday one was, I remember sitting. So I was in the green room Monday for the Monday game, the Tuesday game, the Wednesday game. I was out playing for the Thursday game, and I was like, oh gosh, the tournament is so much harder than regular gameplay. And then whatever the Final Jeopardy question was for the Friday game, and it was Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like, why didn't I get this question? Why did I get this stupid tunnels and all this Florida geography and sailing? And Ugh, Thursday's a rough game, so yeah.
Ooh, we have some good words for Just Wager 4000 from Jennifer Morrow. Basically, her comments at this point are, I wagered 4,001. It works. So,
Excellent. Send me $1.
You heard her, Jennifer. Send her $1. So yeah, that is pretty much it for all the stuff I've got. Do we have any panelists with any questions for any other panelists?
I don't.
What was it like playing in the Tournament of Champions, Sarah?
Short. Like,
Oh.
it was, I mean,
Good answer.
it was just a half hour, and I'd played at least a full hour in all my previous, tape days, and so it just sort of happened so fast, the actual playing of it. But I would say the being there was also a little shorter than I would have liked, because there's so much. I was so paranoid about like the standards and practices and like not, hanging out with other contestants because it was going to be a problem. And they're all like going out drinking, and I was like, I don't know if I should talk to you on Twitter or if I should talk to you in real life. I don't know. But so it was really good once like the first day's taping was over and everybody had met each other and hung out together, and then especially after the whole thing was over, nobody had any pressure anymore, and it was just, hanging out. And
going in, did you have any idea of who would win the whole shebang? Did you have any bets like, oh, yeah, he's going to be she's going to take it all? Or...
Not really. No, I didn't have any. I mean, I assumed I would. But no, I mean, there were people that I was worried about playing, I guess. I was thinking of it more from just like my own perspective and not really thinking about the big picture of like who's going to win it. I was just like, well, who am I going to come up against in the quarterfinal, and what will that mean? And do I know more about this subject than this person, or do I know less about this subject than this person? So yeah, it was all very self-centered.
Okay. How much of this season, or I mean, since you've been on the tournament, how much of these games have you watched as a Jeopardy alumni, Sarah?
Well, what I've mostly been doing is, like, at first I was watching every game like I had been from the point where I auditioned. I was watching as many games as I could, and then once I was on, and then when I was watching to see who else would make it into the tournament, I was watching every day. And I've sort of gotten out of that now. I've been trying to keep up with, like, 5-time winners and sort of get an idea of who's going to be going to the next tournament, but I think I've also probably gotten a little behind on that. I think the last person I watched playing, I watched Kristen. Was Vaughn before or after her?
Vaughn was before.
I think.
Okay. And I watched Louis Vertel, who's a friend of a friend. I think that might be around. Then we went on vacation, and I'm hopelessly behind, and they're all built up on the TiVo. So.
So, do you want to tell us about your vacation then?
Sure. So we finally got to go on our honeymoon to England and Ireland, and we'd been planning to go right after the wedding, but then my mom got sick, and so we didn't go in 2013, and then in 2014 I was waiting around to find out when the Tournament of Champions would be taping, and we're like, we don't want to make a bunch of plans and then have to cancel them, which was the same boat that Drew Horwood was in, because he got married in 2014 and was like, are we going to get the call, make all these arrangements for a honeymoon and then get the call for Jeopardy? So,
Honeymoon in Cold City.
What was that?
Honeymoon in Cold City.
Yeah.
Newman's capital of the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly what we planned. So we had 2 weeks in England and Ireland.
Wow.
And Jeopardy helped out a lot with that too, because like when we were originally planning the honeymoon in 2013, before any of this happened, it was like, oh, how are we gonna pay for all this? We're gonna have to be saving up for a while, and so it was just nice to be able to go and not have to worry about it too much.
Yeah. When did you get married?
Summer of 2013. So I got married on July 13th, and then auditioned on July 14th. And that was one of my little anecdote things. Was like, I've been married for less than 24 hours. And,
I think we had somebody in my audition group that was married for a very short period of time before the audition as well. So.
Well, they originally offered me an audition on the 13th, on that Saturday, and I was like,
No.
No, I can't. We've already sent out invitations. People will expect me to be there.
Did you do your honeymoon after you got your check from the Tournament of Champions?
Yeah, so we just went on the honeymoon just a couple weeks ago.
But when did you get
Yeah, the check from the Tournament of Champions came, I think, before the end of 2014, so I think we got it. Yeah.
Really? Because that
it was a lot faster.
I thought it would be a longer turnaround.
From what I've always heard from tournament contestants, they actually pay them out pretty quickly after the tournament.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was months. Yeah, it was months after my original play that I got the check from that, but then it was a pretty quick turnaround because we taped in late September, early October for the tournament, and check came sometime before the end of the year because it was all on the 2014 tax year. So.
One question actually I've heard from people since I auditioned was about what percentage goes to Uncle Sam?
I don't remember exactly what it was, and it depends on where you live because the state so you have to pay federal taxes. There's the state of California, and there's your home state. And I think Iowa didn't take out anything additional because it had already been taken out in California or something. They have some kind of agreement. Don't remember exactly, but it was more than the payout was more than I anticipated. We'd been sort of expecting that 25% or something would be taken out, and I think it was less than that.
That's good then.
Well, I get the impression, Andy, for us, Uncle Sam may take some, but I don't think Revenue Canada takes any. They consider it a gift if it's winnings from a foreign country. That's what I thought, but I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So us Canadians get a lot more than the Americans. Yay, Canada.
Well, and for us, California took out money up front, but the federal tax was something that we had to pay after the fact. So it was you get this check, it's great, but be prepared that at the end of the year you're going to have to pay taxes. So.
And I think there may be some withholding for Canadians as well, David.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But I still think when it evens out, the Canadians pay a lot less than Americans in terms of tax.
Okay.
I get that impression anyways. I mean, I am not an accountant, so.
Well, I've noticed there's another question on the hashtag, again from Kea, maybe an easier one. What was your favorite game this year?
Game?
What was my favorite game? I think mine was the first game of the Tournament of Champions finals.
I guess mine would have been Kristen's single player daily double. You don't single player Final Jeopardy. Sorry, you don't get to see that very often, and that was kind of nice to see. And from somebody that I kind of know through the Jeopardy community as well, that was a little bit bonus too. How about you?
Well, she mentioned Louis Vertel a little while ago. I loved his episode. He was a joy to watch, and I loved the finger snapping thing when he got the Daily Double right. That was just awesome.
He was only one episode. I thought he was like 2 or 3.
No, he didn't. He only.
Wow. Yeah, because he's very memorable to me too.
Yeah.
Probably the most memorable person who didn't win this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I would say Kea was also memorable for her big daily double bet, but
oh yeah.
Sarah, what was your favorite game?
Well, I was gonna say Lewis too. That was one of the more memorable ones. I mean, I was in one game, but I wouldn't say it was my favorite. Looking back, like when I watched it on TV, I liked it a lot better than I liked it when I was experiencing it. Like I felt like I didn't come off quite so badly because in the studio I was like, I'm digging myself deeper, I'm digging myself deeper, I'm digging myself deeper. This is gonna look so stupid on TV, and then I got out of the hole and it was better. And in watching it on TV, it's exciting drama. Spoilers for Thursday, sorry.
Hey,
I was also happy to see Brian Federa make it on the show from O'Brien's Pub Quiz. That was a nice episode too, even though he didn't win either.
Okay. I'm going to check the hashtag one last time. Just a reminder that we'll be doing the voting over the next couple of weeks for the tournament of panelists. You probably missed that, Sarah, but just as a reminder, we have the every panelist from the past season invited to participate. Fans will vote for their favorites with some semifinalists, the popular ones selected, semifinals, panels, voting.
So they're voting on popular ones? Great. It's like high school all over again.
I think you have lots of friends here in the community, David, so you can...
Yes.
Yeah, where were you in high school?
So where do we send our legions of fans to vote? Is this going to be on thejeopardyfan.com?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
There will be more information coming out over the next couple of days, so do pay attention to the jeopardyfan.com website for the information about the tournament of panelists. This concludes season 31, or the opening season of Jeopardy Live panels. So for everyone who's been on our panels or been a part or listened to any one of our panels, thank you very much. From myself, Jeanie, do you have anything to say before we go off for a couple weeks of voting?
I don't think so. It's been a pleasure.
So thanks in absentia also to Colby Potter, who joined us earlier. Thanks to Sarah for joining us at the end. Once again, I was a very, very big fan of Just Wager 4000, and I'm glad it worked out so well.
Oh my! As I said, I still visit that site. It is a work of art.
Mm-hmm. And also, sorry.
Oh, thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Also, thanks to David for joining us with the J Archive shirt that is making people jealous all over the internet. So, for everyone at thejeopardyfan.com, I'm Andy Saunders. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.